Hey everyone. Today I want to talk about a little bit about a topic that, shall we say, has become a meme as of late, those being Fire Emblem and remakes. Um, Specifically, not how likely is for certain games to get a remake, also because the first game in this list is a big meme in itself, but rather how easy or hard it would be to remake said game or games. Now, of course, before we begin with the video, I want to mention that I am fully aware that making a game it's soul-crushingly difficult, and making a remake is not an easy thing. It's actually potentially even more harder. Not potentially, it is more harder than to make a game from scratch, because you have to do a lot more additional work, especially if you're trying to remake a game that was just pixels up until that point. But it's still fun to speculate and see how good of a translation that game would be to modern audiences. So let's begin with the list, and the first game I want to mention is, well, you probably figured it out by the way I mentioned it, by the way I called it, and we're talking about Genealogy of the Holy War. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, I know that the FE4 remake does not exist, but believe me, I would have preferred that over another Free Houses game. God forbid if we're actually gonna get a Fortress Weave Warriors game. I don't want to fucking imagine that, but anyway. Alright, Genealogy of the Holy War. I've asked the same question around a few Discord servers I'm in, and a lot of people agree that FE4 is on the harder side of making a remake for two pretty good reasons. Number one, the size of the maps, the meme-worthy size of the FE4 maps, and two, the stupid amount of characters, especially on the Gen 2 side. I personally do not agree with that statement. Of course, the characters is gonna be a big problem, naturally, but that's a problem for all games, so yeah. But for the maps, you can make them, you can shrink them and still keep the gimmicks of those maps, because one of the things that FE4 does is that its maps have a lot of gimmicks, have a lot of events, and I feel like you can shrunk the maps down and still have those events happening. Now, I know somebody could look at this or listen to this and go, but that will completely cancel the feeling of grandeur that FE4 is known for. But I believe you can do it. You can achieve that sense of grandeur, like the sense of you're into a continent-spanning war in other ways. For example, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna say something stupid, but FE6 actually apparently portrays that pretty well, and it's not like the maps are like huge in that regard. So, yeah, there are other ways. At least I believe that you can still like get the feeling of, oh, this is like a war that spans the whole conflict, like this big fucking event, and still make the maps reasonably shorter, still reasonably smaller. Also because you're trying to publicize this game, to target this game to people that have never played FE4 for a multitude of reasons. Either because they don't have an emulator, they don't know how to set up an emulator, they don't know how to mod a ROM hack, or to mod an ISO or a file, or simply because they don't want to do the. There's a multitude of reasons why people would not want to play FE4, the original game, and today's people don't have the patience to go through like this big fucking maps. Let's just say that. And I know somebody's gonna bring up the whole thing of mid save points, of saving mid map, but number one, that kind of becomes that. Actually, there's no several points. It's just 1 point, but that whole thing kind of becomes moot when you introduce casual mode, because yes, the FE4 now remixed it's now impossible for IS to drop casual mode. As much as people want it, it's never going to happen. And number two, I'm very certain, I'm very convinced they're going to add some kind of turn wheel, so there's no reason to keep the huge as the not real reason. I mean, there's no real reason to keep the save points because you got all that. So yeah, I believe that FE4 is going to be much more on the easier side. At least I believe it's going to be much more easier than a lot of people think. Since I just mentioned that, FE6, which is apparently, at least from what I've read, one of the games that is heavily rumored to be remade. Now I say FE6, but realistically, all the GBA games are, at least in my opinion, pretty easy to remake. The harder one, of course, is going to be FE6 because you need to fix a lot of things. You need to fix the bad hit rates. You need to, make Roy actually usable. You need to revamp the support conversations, because I get this was like the first time they were doing it, but yeah, the support combos in FE6 are like supremely fucking rough. But yeah. There's like a lot of things that needs to be done on FE6 more than FE7 and FE8, but I honestly believe that the GBA games should be on the easier side of remaking them. Hell, actually, FE7, I believe, would fit in, a remake of FE7 would fit nicely with every single game post Shadow Dragon, because if you don't know, and not many people, I know people know that, FE7 has an avatar, and that game came out in 2003, like 7 years before New Mystery of the Emblem, which is the game that introduced avatars as a playable character. And then, of course, popularized with Robin and Awakening, and with Robin, Corrin, Byleth, Alir, and Ashmil, whatever the fuck her name is in the Avatar from Fortune's Weave, as well as Shaz in Free Hopes. So just mentioned the Warriors games, and Kieran, but Mark, which is the name of the Avatar in FE7, more like, but unlike all those guys, Mark works more like Kieran in Fire Emblem Heroes, where it's not given a face, technically. Yeah, you just given the name, the gender, and that's basically it. But and I know not many people want that to happen, but if you're ever gonna make actually go and remake FE7, they're definitely going to make Mark a tangible physical character that fights alongside Lynn, Eloyd, and Actor. So yeah, FE7 will fit in more with every single game post Shadow Dragon, DS Shadow Dragon, than any other games previously. Speaking of course, of Shadow Dragon and Mystery of the Emblem, I severely doubt they're going to remake them. Not for any other particular reason other than they were remade. I don't think ES wants to remake those games a second time. So yeah, I'm going to skip the Tellus games entirely. And I want to focus straight on Awakening, and I say Awakening because before the direct that announced Fortune's Weave, me and a bunch of people on a Discord server, we did discuss the possibility of an Awakening remake, because Awakening is the game that I don't want to say save the franchise, because if Fortune's Weave ends up being the big success that Free Houses was, then people are going to say that Free Houses was the game that saved the franchise. But basically, Awakening was the game that kickstarted Fire Emblem's engine back to life. And we were thinking it could potentially get a remake purely because of that fact, that it did bring Fire Emblem back from the dead, or at least at first. And honestly, I believe it should be somewhat easy to remake Awakening, because you know they already did like 3D HD models for Lissa, for Crom, for Frederick, for Cordelia, for Lucina, of course, for the two Robins. Like, you can do a of course there's like other characters like the rest of the shepherds, their son, their children, and all that stuff, but making an Awakening remake feels much more easier to make than the next game that should be pretty easy to make. Definitely easier than Fates, and yeah, Fates is in my honest opinion the second hardest game to remake, because you didn't need me to say it, but that game has so much shit wrong that you basically need a complete reimagining, not a remake, a Final Fantasy VII, a Final Fantasy remake styled reimagining, rewrite, everything you can any adjective you can apply to FF7 remake that has to apply to a potential remake of Fates, because so much of the franchise is wrong. Not to mention, of course, they have to, you know, work on free. Okay, maybe not the free roots thing. No, not okay. Maybe the free roots thing is not a big of a problem because you know they already did it with free houses, and because they like what 3 games out of 4 that they've done. They tackled multiple routes. Of course, free houses, free hopes, and now looks to be enough for just with the 4 routes with Kai, Theodora, Lida, and Dietrich. Sorry. So I don't think that like the free roots thing is gonna be that big of a problem. But yeah, that thing would have to need like extensive rewriting to make that work, because just to make one big example, you need to find a way to introduce the Gen 2 characters in a much more natural way than the Deep Realms. So yeah, Fates is definitely on a much more harder side of remaking the game. And I want to save this one for last, but the game that I believe is going to be the absolute hardest to make, if not straight up impossible to remake, and this is definitely the game that a lot of people thought when clicking on this video and seeing what the topic was all about. The game I'm talking about is, of course, Thracia 776. For the ones who played Thracia, know why that game, according to a lot of people, would be pretty hard to remake. But for the ones who didn't, Thracia has so much shit on it, and it's so unique, has so much stuff on it that it's basically impossible to take it away or modifying it and change what Thracia is all about, and severely change the Thracia experience in a way that would basically not be Thracia anymore. Just to make an example, even adding a tutorial kind of ruins the Thracia experience, even though, spoilers, there is a tutorial in Thracia. They were trying to make a tutorial on Thracia, and it was, from what I remember, this is stuff that I saw from this stuff you can see from the on the cutting room floor. Apparently they did get pretty far into making this thing before they just decided to just scrap that and go for the VHS, because I guess Kaga had some money to burn, which kind of explains why I ended up making all those, ended up betting a lot of money on the guides, which would kind of explain why he made the game so obtuse, because he needed to recover money from making that from the production of that VHS. But yeah, but the problem is, most of the stuff that makes up the Thracia experience is stuff that nowadays would be considered 100% unacceptable. One example, there's a lot of many examples, but the examples I can think of off the top of my head is infinite range staves. So yeah, people can get slapped on right from the word go. well, not exactly from war go, but basically on the war, but on the first turn, chances are the enemy can actually, if they get sleep save, they can sleep your unit, you can put your units to sleep right from the get-go. The ballistas, the Frasier ballistas are notorious for being a bitch to deal with. Of course, like as I stated, the fact that the game is so obtuse, you can legitimately self-lock yourself. Of course, Fog of War was introduced in Frasier, and is potentially one of the worst versions of Fog of War ever in Fire Emblem. And of course, the big thing that I mention every single time we talk about Frasier, missing healers. There's no 100% hit rate on Frasier. It's from 1% to 99%, which means yes, healers can actually miss. And yeah, I know a lot of Kaga heads would absolutely be okay with that, but today's people that have never played Frasier, that want to still give it a shot, despite okay. Well, actually, I can say this. All the people that still decide that maybe never give any Frasier, the original game, a shot because they've heard the horror stories of this game being so goddamn brutal and so unfair that that is just not worth it. Which, by the way, I'm one of those people. I refuse to fucking play that game. I don't care how actually easy it ends up being. If you have a guide, I am not touching this shit even at gunpoint. So don't you bother asking. But basically, they've heard like the horror stories of the internet why they never tried Frasier, but they decided to try out the tutorial, the remake. They're not going to accept all that stuff like missing healers, infinite range staves, ambush spawns. Although ambush spawns is kind of the lesser evil, especially considering that it was introduced in FE6, the first Kaga-less game, and then of course got introduced in every other game. Awakening was one of them also recently. I don't remember if other games have it. I don't remember Engage had it. It's been like a while. It's actually been about a full year since I did the Engage playthrough, I believe. But yeah, Shadow Dragon does not have FE6. I said FE6. Shadow Dragon, I believe has ambush spawns. But yeah, there's like a lot of shit that now that people will absolutely not be okay with, like Kaga heads. But again, that's the problem. That bullshit that Frasier does is part of the Frasier experience, and inevitably somebody is going to mention the whole thing of missing the missing healers, the fact that guys could the fact there's no 100% hit rate, on the fact that what you're playing with in Frasier is, at least for the very first parts of Frasier, is to mention Gangs of New York. You're dealing with a few crusty bitches and a handful of ragtags, because the main story is that the initial beats of the story is that Leaf is building up a rebellion, but this rebellion, as said, is full to the brim with a bunch of people that have no idea what they're doing, and they're severely disorganized. They got no army, so to basically do stuff, they basically have to steal the weapons from the enemies to get equipment. They basically have to steal the enemies to get literally anything to survive. And again, I don't know if people want to support that, because basically the whole overall feeling of Frasier is that even if you are oh yeah, I forgot. Frasier also has fatigue. Your units can get fatigue if you use them for too many times, and yeah. I don't think people will look to accept that, because what if it happens that your best unit, there's like, I don't know, Makwa is getting Olwen, actually, let's just say more because I can actually pronounce her name. Let's just say like Olwen or Asbel end up being your best units. Only for them to get fatigued, and then you stick with a unit, for example, like Marty, that you decide to stick with Marty, or Oh god, I can only think a character that I can think, like another French character that I think at the top of my head, or Finn, for example, that he never used, and of course the struggle. Yeah, I don't think people actually want to accept that. So yeah, but again, there's so much bullshit in the game, but that bullshit is part of the part of the French experience. So yeah, that's probably gonna be one of the hardest game to make, to remake, to faithfully remake. But yeah, so to quickly recap the video, the easiest game that I could think that I think could be remade, the easiest are, of course, the GBA games, Awakening and FE4. While the hardest games that I can think of that are the hardest to remake are FE5, actually no, Fates, and of course FE5. So yeah, that was everything that I want to say for this video. So yeah, I guess next up, actually, yeah, I still have no idea what topic I want to make. What idea? I guess like I have an idea of what I want to make. Like, for example, why I'm not looking forward to Fortune's Reef. I tried to make that game, but then just scrapped it. But I don't know. Of course, I need to think. I need to think about another idea for another BUSA. But yeah. But anyway, this has been it for this video. If you liked it, give it a like. If you see more content like this, hit subscribe and click the notification bell so you guys make sure it drops. And I have nothing else to say other than see you next video, everybody. This Alpha, signing out.